Welcome, everyone, to a special edition of the Tennessee Bar Association Young Lawyers Division podcast. My name is Quentin Thompson, and I am the current president of the Young Lawyers Division. And today I am joined by two Shelby County Circuit Court judges, Judge Gina Higgins and Judge Rhynette Hurd. For those of you that have not heard, we have launched our Diversity Law Week, which is a brand new initiative that the Young Lawyers Division started this year. It is heavily influenced by the Memphis Bar Association Summer Law Internship Program that was co-created by Judge Higgins. And I know it was also heavily supported over the years by Judge Hurd. And the two of them have just done a great deal of work around just making sure people understand what diversity means and trying to promote that in our legal profession as well as in our community in general. So I want to just start out by having our guests introduce themselves, tell us where you're from, go over your educational background and some of the different things you did up until the time you became a judge.
Judge Higgins, you want to go first?
No, Judge Hurd. I defer to wisdom, knowledge, and all things smart.
Oh my gosh, then I wouldn't be me. But at any rate, I came to the legal profession circuitously. I was not a direct admit into the legal profession from my undergraduate experience. But I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. I was born and raised here. I went to Manassas High School. At the time, it was a segregated high school. There were only Blacks teaching and students there, only Blacks. I left there and had kind of a culture shock, went up to Massachusetts to Mount Holyoke College, which is the first and still it's a gender diverse women's college. I happen to be a trustee there now, but I graduated from Mount Holyoke. And then I went to Harvard and got a master's degree. Then my next educational experience was to get a PhD in English at Vanderbilt. So I was an English professor for about 17 years before even launching my legal career. I went into the law thinking, I really want to see what I can do. My experience was broad in reaching students, but I wanted to do more for my community and for the citizens of Tennessee. And I went to Cecil C. Humphrey School of Law there. I was editor-in-chief of the Law Review there. And then upon graduation, I went to what was then one of the largest law firms in Tennessee. It was the Armstrong Allen Law Firm, which doesn't exist anymore. But I was there for only about not less than a year. And then became a member of the legal department at International Paper Company. And I stayed in corporate America until someone called and said, there's a judicial spot open you ought to apply for. And I did that and was selected by Governor Bredesen to fill a spot that I lost in an election several months later. But the Supreme Court asked me to come back to fill in some vacancies during the time of one of the judge's illnesses. And from there, I now retain that spot for this is my second term now in Division 5. So that's my long and circuitous route to this position on the bench.
Well, Quentin, you'll understand now why I said that this was all things smart, and you see why Judge Hurd is the personality that she is. So in contrast, though, my story starts out in South Memphis as well. I went to Carver High School here in Memphis, born, reared here. I spent all of my educational years, for the most part, in Memphis. So after Carver, I went to the University of Memphis. And after graduation, I knew I was going to go to law school. I wanted to go, but I needed to spend a little time working. So I was out for 3 years before I came back into the law school. And I got my law degree at the Cecil C. Humphrey School of Law. But growing up, I always knew I wanted to go into law. I always knew it. My favorite shows were Perry Mason. And there was, who was this white male, right? Older white guy who practices law, but that was the only lawyer I knew of. And that was watching him on those black and white televisions back in the day. And then there was a cop show called Christy Love. And that was the closest thing I could identify with when it came to law, right? So my siblings started calling me a two-bit lawyer even back then. And we knew that eventually I would get there. And I came on through the university. It wasn't an easy road getting in, but being a part of the community certainly helps a lot. And I was a part of the community here. I knew people, didn't necessarily know lawyers per se, but I had run into Judge Rita Stotts, who was working at legal services at some point. And Judge Stotts helped me to get into the law school. When you don't have the best GPA, because in undergrad, you don't do the things you're supposed to do. You enjoy your time initiating or pledging, as we called it back then, and having a good time in undergrad. So your grades aren't where they need to be. And then you get to the point where, you're trying to test to get into law school. And traditionally, African Americans just didn't test well on those multiple choices kinds of testings that they gave. So I was never just as high up as I needed to be or wanted to be, but I was good enough to be there. So Judge Stotts kind of paved the way and got me into the law school. And I'm going to say the rest is history. I excelled there. I did an outstanding job, made extremely good grades, was a good law student. So I think I paid my dues to the law school for giving me an opportunity to get in, and to Judge Stotts for paving the way and making it happen. And the only other really, really interesting thing I'll say that happened, after I graduated from law school, I went into the JAG Corps, the United States Navy, in their JAG program. And I had an opportunity to now get out of Memphis, where I'd been all my life. And I got a chance to see the world, to get some additional training, and to be a part of that military culture where they teach you to do it their way and to obey certain rules. And I'm good with that. So it was a great opportunity for me, but I had to come back to Memphis when my children started school. And I've been here ever since, practicing general practice, and then coming into the bench, to the legal field, first as a divorce referee, and then onto the bench, judge in Circuit Court Division 4.
And I just have to say, I can't let us just pass by Judge Rita Stotts' name that quickly. Judge Higgins sits in Division 4, and Judge Rita Stotts was the first Black female to sit here in Circuit Court.
Yes.
And so we want to pay homage to her, particularly this Women's History Month.
Thank you, Judge.
Well, thank you both for telling us some more information about you and for giving us that information about Judge Stotts. In my intro, I mentioned the Memphis Bar Association Summer Law Internship Program. And as you both know, I was fortunate enough to be in the first class of that program in 2007. And the whole reason we are having this conversation this week, and I wanted to do Diversity Law Week, was because of the impact that program had on me, and just validating my beliefs that I could go to law school and become a lawyer. And this week we have over 100 students in Memphis, Nashville, Chattanooga, and Knoxville, going to different law firms, shadowing different legal professionals, going to courthouses. On Saturday, thanks to Memphis Law School and Vanderbilt Law School, they're going to have a mini law school experience where they'll have an admissions workshop. They'll tour the law school. They're doing a mock law class. The class here in Memphis, they're reading the latest, not all of it because it's convoluted, but they're reading the latest affirmative action decision from the U.S. Supreme Court. And Will Perry is going to walk them through that case. So I'm excited about that.
Me too.
But
well, actually, hopefully, maybe he can explain it to us, because it doesn't make a lot of sense, even to us judges.
Yeah, well, I'm sure he'll do his best. But I know I said earlier, Judge Higgins, you helped co-created that program. So talk to us about what was going on around 2007 that you thought to do something like that. Like, what is it that you were trying to do at that point?
Well, actually, Clinton, thank you so very much. And you are just our proudest moment for that summer law intern program, SLIP as we call it. You are Exhibit A, you are the product, you are the reason why that program exists. And when you encapsulize all of that, it helped to make the program sell itself. We don't have to go out and just beg anymore. You bring it to the table, people see, people understand. A lot of people are visual by nature. And when they can see you, they know they can be you. If you can do it and it's not something they read in a book, then it becomes something that's really palpable and something that they can reach out and touch. And it's going to make all the difference in the world. But actually, it was about 2006. Barbara Zacola was president of the Bar Association. Amy Amonson was coming in, and they were trying to come up with something that would help us develop some kind of reach out and touch for minority students. And when it first came into existence, it was really kind of designed to reach those students, not the top tier students, but that next tier, so that with top tier students, you know you have a win-win. If you can reach another level, then you increase the number of wins that you're going to get. But we had minority students out there that had never been exposed to law, never been exposed to lawyers, didn't know how this would work, didn't see themselves going into any legal career. And we know that the numbers involving minority lawyers is low. It's a very small percentage. Back then, I think it was about 4% of the number of lawyers in the legal community. So we were trying to increase that. And the best way to do it, if you don't have it as natural attrition, then you go ahead and you make them, you grow them yourself. So we started this program of growing our own future lawyers, and the summer law program got started. But it was thanks to the help and the participation and the support of so many lawyers, namely Ruby Warren. She was so instrumental in getting this program moving and going and helping to guide and direct and develop it, because it had to have some structure. We didn't know what we were doing when we first got started, so we had an opportunity to practice with you. Thank you, Quentin. And we were able to get lawyers on board who agreed not only to give their time, but they gave their money as well, to have these young students who knew nothing about law, nothing about lawyers coming into their space. Some of these students didn't know anything about ethics and confidentiality and what was going to be required of them, but they learned those things. And then I think really significant is that they had an opportunity to develop friendships and mentors and people who could be there for them, resources in the future. You could call them up if you needed a character reference for college. You could call them if there were issues or problems, or if you needed some future employment. They were there for them because these kinds of friendships and mentorships developed over the course of years. So it was a program designed to increase minority numbers in the legal arena, but it was also designed to just help develop professionally young people who were going to be missing that element just as a normal link in their life.
And I have to say that just recently, it actually was on Judge Higgins' birthday, that the NBA announced the Honorable Gina C. Higgins SLIP Endowment Fund, which means that this program now will live on and on and on, which is absolutely it's just remarkable. And I don't know, Quentin, whether you know that this program takes students at a very young age, right? High school and all. And I don't know, you're familiar with the Guy versus whoever the governor has to be in Tennessee decision. Are you not? Rita Guy, another Rita, that inspired the creation of a program that we now call TIP. There's several different names in the past, but now it's the Tennessee Tennessee Internship Program, I believe, where minority students are encouraged to go to law school by participating in a summer program at the university, where they are given I say it's a program where you realize that there's several balls to juggle when you go into law school, bunches of them. There's so many things you've got to figure out. Well, it gives students an opportunity to experience a couple of those so that they can put those to rest when they actually enter law school. And it has meant a tremendous increase in the number of law students we have, Black law students, minority law students that we have in our Tennessee law schools. And I'm proud to say I've taught in that program since the year after I graduated from law school, actually, since 1992. And it has meant so much. And it's just so inspiring to see those lawyers appearing before us now.
Right.
It is just because at that time, I mean, again, it was a need, just like SLIP, where we saw there just weren't very many, or just a handful of minority lawyers in our courtrooms and in our corporate legal departments. And we wanted a way to try to increase that. And so that program still exists today, despite the affirmative action overturn of recent Supreme Court decisions.
Well, Judge Hurd, I'm glad you brought up TIP as well, because I have had the opportunity to I know Professor Frank, she would have some networking mixers for them, and I was able to go to some of those over the years. But as you know, the Tennessee Bar Association is a very broad membership, when it comes to diverse backgrounds. And I think when we talk about programs like the summer law internship program known as SLIP and the TIP program that Judge Hurd was just talking about, some people really may not understand why we're doing this. Why am I doing this Diversity Law Week? Why do I think it's important to have these students, whether it's high school students, college students, law students, go through a program like this? So can you try to tell people specifically how this helps those young individuals who have an opportunity to experience something like SLIP or TIP?
Well, I think this, Quentin, I'll go first and then Judge Hurd clean it up. But as part of these programs, what you're looking at is traditionally where we have been, historically where we have been. And that has just been such a deficiency in the number of minorities that have entered into professions like law and even into professions like medicine and other high-end type of professions, because they have just been not allowed in because of the gatekeepers that sit and the programs that are in place, the committees that make determinations. And historically, they have all been not like us. They have not looked like minorities. They have been the majority population, and the majority population perpetuates what the majority population is, what they see every day, what they believe should be the standard for whatever their particular professions are. And all of us, whether you're a minority or majority, you want to protect your particular profession. You want to make sure that the standards maintain. So what you do is you look at it through the lens of who you are and where you are. And when you see people who look like you, those just have a tendency to be more acceptable than people who don't look like you. So these programs are designed to make sure that the levels of those onions, the peelings are peeled back, and people look at individuals for what they bring to the table, more so than what they look like on their skin, what they look like on the outside. And it gives individuals like me an opportunity to see if I can prove myself. TIP, when you go through that program in the summer, it's going to let you know at the end of that program whether you really have the mettle or the skills you need to go and be successful in law school. Well, you wouldn't know that. And you may get into a law school, find out this is not where I want to be, and you flunk out. Or this is not something I think I can really do. Maybe I'm better at math than I am at analyzing cases and dealing with theories of that sort. So maybe I should look for another profession. But I don't know it until I test the water. Sometimes I have no idea that I'm interested in law until you bring it to me. These programs bring it to these students where they are, give them an opportunity to come into this profession. And that becomes the win-win for us, because what happens? We are increasing the number of minorities that are in these fields. And then our communities begin to reflect in this legal profession what our community is made up of. So it just becomes a situation of programs helping us realize where we need to be as a community.
And it's a two-way street too. It's not just to give the students an opportunity to see what it's like and to learn some things, to give them a head start, but also an opportunity for the law school, for example, or for the members of the legal profession to see that, well, they're really not so different as we thought. They are capable, right? And please understand, too, that these programs aren't restricted to, we don't mean when we say minority, only different people of different color. It is maybe first generation. It may be all kinds of ways where you are increasing or attempting to increase the overall diversity, to be more inclusive, to be fairer, to all citizens of this state and others, actually, so that we have that real mix that we need in the legal profession. It's really important that everybody doesn't think the same way. People ask me, why do you want to have diversity on the bench? It's because if we didn't have diversity on the bench, it wouldn't take but one judge, right? If everybody thought exactly the same, right? Everybody brings a different perspective to their jobs. And it's important to listen to all of those different perspectives, because it's not just one way of doing anything. So diversity is just extremely important in seeing that we are a fair and equitable legal system.
I know when the SLID program was started to be created back in 2006, and I know it finally got going in 2007. Both of you were still attorneys at the time, and then you later became judges. I'm curious to know, how has your perspective regarding diversity changed from going from being a practicing attorney in Tennessee versus now being a judge? What, if anything, changed about your perspective on this topic?
I don't think it has changed. I've just had an opportunity to see more and to experience more and to know more and more that what we do to increase minorities in this profession is really important. I can see it. I can deal with it from a different perspective from the bench. But being out there and being in the trenches is just like practicing law and then coming to the bench. You bring all of those experiences with you, and you hope you have enough sweat equity in the game to realize that there are good ways you can touch people and bad ways you can touch people. But either way, we need to make sure everybody gets an opportunity. If they have an interest in this profession, let's give them an opportunity to see whether they can make it. Now, everybody's not going to make it, and we're okay with that, because, as I said, we still want to protect the integrity of the practice of law. But don't just discount people because they're poor. Don't discount people because of their race, because of where they grew up, because of the high school that they attended, or because they just didn't have family members who were into the practice of law so that they knew they could drop names and do things. Everybody just deserves an opportunity to be seen or to be heard when it comes to this. And just over the years, Quentin, we see how significant and important it is. And when we are at this table, we are at this table for a reason. And that is to ensure that those doors stay open and people are allowed to come through.
Yeah, and I suppose in terms of changes, the landscape has changed tremendously. When I started International Paper Company, this was a several 100-year-old company, right? I was the second Black lawyer in the entire company. And the one before that had been there maybe about a year, and that had been 10 years or so before I came. And that's one reason it was so important to me as a Black lawyer in the legal department. And, we think of International Trade Fair as Memphis, but it's, worldwide, right? That we had a program. We had a program for minority students, law students, to come in and work with us for the summer. Several of the students one had actually been a slip student, I think my last year there. But, it was just a paucity of color. There was a paucity of difference in various ways, various senses of that word difference. And and now I said to a lawyer the other day, it's so nice to have colleagues who look like you. So, that is just amazing. It's so nice, for me to have colleagues who look like me. When I first came on the bench, there were just a couple of us. And so it really makes a difference that the kind of support you get when just by looking around and seeing that difference is accepted. That I think makes a big difference in just when you walk into your workplace.
I know when I started college at the University of Tennessee at Knoxville, it was when President Obama was running the first time. And I was reminded of one of his quotes, because a lot of people complain about how we haven't done anything, how we haven't progressed. And he would always say it's important to recognize progress. And he said, even though we have a long way to go, it's important to recognize progress. And I just remember him saying that over and over again. So I think about myself when I graduated, people like Judge Higgins, Judge Hurd, Judge Stokes, you all are on the bench, Judge Corbin Johnson, and then, several in criminal court. I'm not a criminal attorney, so I don't want to go listing all of them, but I know it's several people of color and just people from different diverse backgrounds who are on the bench in Shelby County. And in a way, I feel privileged and blessed because I know that was not your experience. You wouldn't walk into those courthouses and be able to see like so many different people that look like you. So what does it now mean at this point that you do have those colleagues and you do have more lawyers that are appearing in your courtroom that look like you, but you also know that we still have a ways to go, kind of going back to that quote about we can recognize the progress, but we know that there's still work to be done.
Well, Quentin, I agree wholeheartedly with that concept, with that statement. There has just been so much progress. If there were not progress, we may have one everywhere. We are getting beyond the first to do now, and we're getting into generations of individuals who look like us, who are minorities otherwise, that are being able to take positions, to practice as lawyers in different areas, to sit in these law firms as equity partners, to be managing partners. You're looking at general counsels in corporate America that are minorities. You're looking at individuals who hold positions as attorneys for mayors, even lawyers who are mayors. We have here city mayor and county mayor, but the lawyers who are the attorneys for the county, attorneys for the city, African Americans and minorities who sit in these positions, women who sit in these positions. So we have seen so much progress in terms of positions and opportunities that individuals receive, but that's only a drop in the bucket in terms of whether or not we still have gatekeepers that keep people out for those reasons, other than, hey, look, you're just qualified, you can do the job, you're kind of excluded as a consequence of your race, of your gender, of where you came from. You don't have the credentials of certain law schools or other kinds of undergraduate college degrees and colleges that you graduate from. All of those things should not be the total measuring rod. Yeah, we look at them. We're human. We can't help it. But it's important for us to just try and keep going forward, not stepping backwards, not sidestepping, but keep going forward, keep pressing, because the ultimate goal is for people to believe that in America, you have these opportunities that are presented and you should be allowed to take advantage of them. Don't give me the opportunity or say that opportunity is out there and those are just hollow words and I can't get to them because you have a committee that blocks me on the front end. You have a test that won't work well with the manner in which I have traditionally been reared. Whatever it is, if it's institutionalized in there so that it's going to hurt me, those are the things we need to look at. But sometimes those are not questions that are going to be in the mindset of individuals who didn't have to go through that. Mm-hmm. So when we bring our life's experiences, we say, wait a minute, hold on one second. I think that this may not be the best way for us to do this because we look at it from a different lens. And as long as you have those different lands coming, I think we can keep the progress going. But we are nowhere near the finish line on this question. And I don't think as long as we live, we'll ever get there. But we all have to be responsible. And I don't just mean it should be minorities pushing forward. The majority population certainly has a role to play in this. And they have to make sure that they are weighing in and saying, you know what, that's not my life's experience, but I hear what you're saying. Let's evaluate that. Let's look at that. Let's see if we can put that into play. If that had not been the thought process of the individuals back in 2006 and 2007 at the Bar Association, we would never have had slip likely. We would not have lawyers coming in who never thought that they could be a lawyer. We would not have individuals trying to be the best they can be, to give back, to help make this a better society, if it were not for those forward-thinking people, those individuals who said, okay, we're going to try and make this as good as we can possibly make it. So when everybody comes to the table and everybody has an open mind and is willing to see, hear, sit down, talk, and discuss what the real issues are, I think we're in a much better place. And that's what we want to push for. Let's keep going in that direction, Quinn.
There's no doubt about it. Diversity is one thing. That's like the first step. That is getting people of diverse backgrounds in an environment, on a court or what have you. That's only the first step. The next step is seeing that things are equitable, right? And then the final step is that it is an inclusive environment. That is so just having the numbers of people, that's one thing. That's great. It looks good. But it's that the work then starts, right? And just to say more about what Judge Higgins was saying about the importance of different perspectives, and I often use this example. You take, say, a criminal court of appeals, right? And you're looking to see whether something suggests that a criminal defendant should get enhancement. And one of the things with the enhancement has to do with whether that person's in a gang, right? And you're trying to determine whether that person was actually in a gang. Well, someone may say, well, he walks this way, or he wears his pants this way, or whatever. That means he's in a gang. Well, somebody from a different background say, no, my nephew does the same thing. He's not in a gang, right? Because my cultural background lets me know. It informs me about various behaviors that someone who isn't familiar with that may not know. And so then, oh, no, it's not enhancement. It makes a difference. It makes a difference to have different perspectives, different cultural backgrounds, weighing in on so many different issues in civil and criminal arenas. So, it's not just you have difference, that you have different people. It's that you have different perspectives. You have people who have different experiences, who can share those experiences and maybe influence a result.
Mm-hmm. And Quentin, one of my favorite sayings is, if when you know better, you do better. Right. But if I haven't been exposed to better, I can't do better. Right. So something has to get my attention. Slip gets the attention of young people who never thought about it. Exposure. When people reach back, when professionals reach back, they get the attention of people who never thought about it. Now all of a sudden, they can know better. So when they know better, they can do better. And so it becomes that win-win again. And all of this is about win-win, right? We win when we do better. We win when we allow everybody an opportunity. So all of that just goes to show that, yes, we're getting better, we're going forward, but there's just so much more that we can do.
Judge Hurd, you brought up something. You said diversity is the first step, but then being equitable is more of the second step. And when I've been telling people about Diversity Law Week and the need for it, I did quite a bit of research. So I went to the ABA surveys that they have, and they talk about how basically it has been consistent that about 5% of attorneys are Black, about 5% of attorneys are Hispanic, and you have about, I think it's almost 86% or something like that, representing the majority. So it's a very small percentage of people who are minorities going into the legal profession, even though we do have programs like this. But I was looking at stats around partnership. So when you think about law firms, because you can hire all these diverse individuals, but then they don't tend to stick around as long and they leave. So even though you hired them, when it comes to, at least I know for Black partners, the number stays around 2%. So what advice do you have for law firms or for companies when it comes to their general counsel departments about not just trying to hire diverse people, but keep them?
Yeah, it's interesting you would say that. Some of the questions that you asked us beforehand to kind of prepare for this was, how did you get into decide to go into the judiciary? I've been in a corporation for a number of years, and I had just reached the glass ceiling. I was not going to go anywhere else, no matter how well I did. I was not going to become general counsel. I was at the next level from that, but I wasn't going to be general counsel. I was not going to be CEO. Unlike Monica Warden, I have to, she's right there at the top. I wasn't going to be. So I was looking for something else where I could have some influence. And, it is important to recognize for individuals in power in corporations and in law firms to recognize the importance of that quilt, of making sure that everyone has the opportunity to be a part of that beautiful quilt where, and it's equal, where people in the decision making authority come from various backgrounds. You make more money that way, right? There are a lot of advantages to allowing everyone to reach the pinnacle in whatever environment that you're in. And so you need programs like this. You need programs like SLIP. You need opportunities, as I indicated before, for those in power to see that it's okay and that it's good. And there are advantages, and for the people who are coming in that you're inviting into your environment, for them to learn about that environment. So, don't be afraid of difference. That's one bit of advice, because actually it could be to your benefit. And so, I don't know, do you have any thoughts on that, Judge Higgins?
Well, I think that the firms, and I've never been in a large firm other than the United States Navy, right? And we have a promotion tag, right? But I think that firms should be very sincere about evaluating where they are and what they do and how they do it. I think they should be intentional about it. I think they should look at where these minorities are coming in and where they're going out the door, they're exiting, and ask good questions, ask serious questions, ask honest questions about why, and take it on board when you do look at it and you evaluate yourself and see if you are reaching the mark. Now, if that's all you intended to do, maybe that's where you are and that's what you want to do, but that should not be what it is you want to see. You want people to come in and be a part and be there. Longevity. I do understand and know that people are not staying in jobs like they used to. They are moving. But if you create an environment that says, I want to stay, make it worth my while, I'll do just that. And we do applaud the firms that we see here in Memphis that now appear to allow young associates, minority associates, to come more into the courtroom, to work on the bigger cases that they had traditionally not been allowed to touch. They've just been given the minimalist kind of work, the tasks that handle maybe a debt collection or something here, go over and handle this, handle something that they just didn't traditionally handle or something they didn't want. But we now see them working on the bigger cases. So they do come into the courtroom, and that's good. They do get an opportunity to meet the big corporate clients, to have an opportunity to go out, work on their cases, and to be given the opportunity to be seen for their value and their worth. And I think that makes a difference. But they have the Center for Excellence in Decision Making here that was started by judges and lawyers, namely Judge Bernice Donald, to have some, I think, accountability and responsibility for what you do in your leadership roles. And it does teach us to do some inward introspective thinking about ourselves and evaluating where we are and what we do, and just the why we do it. And the word that is used a lot is unconscious bias, right? That all of us have these biases because we're just different people. That's just it. We're just different. And we like what we like, and we like what looks like us, right? That's just a normal way to do it. Doesn't make it right, doesn't make it wrong. It's just what it is. So when you take where you are and what it is, when you get into leadership roles, you have to think outside that box and say, it can't always be like it's been, right? We've always done it like that. That doesn't necessarily make it right. All right. So how would you do it a little differently and why? Ask those questions, think through those things, and see if you won't do things differently. This world is progressing, and now we have gotten beyond what everybody talks about is a microwave society, right? We've gotten beyond, we are in nanoseconds or whatever other terms they use out there. And things are moving quickly and fastly. And if we don't change to meet those needs, we're going to get left behind. Look at brick and mortar stores, retail. They're going by the wayside. People are doing things differently. Law firms are going to get caught up in that same kind of people going by the wayside if they don't think outside the box. If they don't plan ahead for how it is we have to embrace society as we know it. And this is one of the ways that we can do it. We can make sure we're progressing along this legal community line, because there will be in the future places, people, times that will say, if you don't look like this, we're not going to do business with you.
One of the things I often thought about, because I was fortunate, I remember I moved back to Memphis, and Ann Fritz was the executive director of the Memphis Bar Association. She saw me at a mixer because I was trying to get to know lawyers in Memphis when I moved back. And she said, I remember you went through the SLIP program. She just, I don't know how she remembered me, because at the time I didn't remember her, but it all kind of came full circle later. So I joined the committee, and I eventually became a chair of the committee. And then I got too busy for that, but I'm still on the committee. But I remember sitting through Judge Higgins' orientation, And I think that the benefit these students get is so much bigger than just the opportunity of possibly becoming a lawyer, because you would go over things about showing up on time, being respectful, being professional. You set these expectations on them that I think a lot of people wouldn't they just wouldn't expect. I think most people don't even think that some people that look like that could meet the expectations that you were putting on them. So just for me, I know going through a program like this where you're in a professional setting, whether you go to law school or not, they'll be better for it in so many ways that you probably can't even quantify. So do y'all have any thoughts on, just other benefits that people can get from having an experience like this?
You are absolutely right. It maybe about a month or so ago, I was right outside my courtroom, and this woman walked up to me, and I knew she looked familiar, and I couldn't quite figure out who she was. And then finally, she told me she was the mother of one of the slip students that we had, and the court has slip students come into. It's not just law firms. And we had a young lady, maybe about 4 years ago, must have been, because she is now a senior in college, right? And her mother came up to me and said, she's not going to be a lawyer, but she loves you guys. She's going to be here for the summer. She wants to come by and visit and tell you what she's doing now. She's not going to be a lawyer, but she remembers the program. She still sends text messages for Mother's Day and all of that. How you doing? Just checking in. Want to let you know I'm making straight A's this year. I'm going to go into business and that kind of thing. And we do a lot more than just show them the law. We help them figure out how they should dress and be presentable, how they should be mannerable, why they shouldn't be so loud, not just in the courthouse, but other places, right? They're excited to be here, but, about all kinds of things, decorum and whatnot. So the advantages of these programs, just far outweigh, what you see on the advertisement about what the program is about. It is just so much more. And I don't know how many so far have been through that program. Is it 600 or 900? I can't remember what the number is. Yeah.
About 1,000.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it is, and then, not to mention TIP and all other programs that we have here in the state to just encourage people who would not ordinarily be seen by others or who would see certain things. The advantages are just, you can't really measure them.
Quentin, I think you just hit an important nail on the head, just like what Judge Hurd just said. A lot of these minority students who come through, these young people, never thought about it. So this is their first opportunity to go to work. And for the most part, it's just about professional development of young people. Somebody has to get their attention because they have so much energy. They have so many skills. And if we can pull those out, look at what a better world we're making for ourselves. For every young person that goes in this positive direction, we don't have to worry about them being on the street. We don't have to worry about meeting them as clients at 201 Poplar. We don't have to worry about them being a drain on society. They become people who give back, who work hard, who are productive. And that's what we want of every child. Everybody wants every child to be productive. And here we are making positive results for these children. And when you talk to them, every child, children are children, right, will hear these positive words from their parents, these repeated statements of what you should do, what you shouldn't do. And after a while, children just kind of, they just zoom out when it comes to parents. They don't listen. They don't pay attention to it. Another person comes along and says it, maybe in just a different manner. But you say the same thing that mother has been trying to teach that child for years, and it gets their attention. They understand, they see, they hear. And when they know that they have to comply in order to be a part of this program, they comply. So they sit and they listen. And now they have good learned behavior. They have good character building skills that are going to help them wherever they go in life and whatever they do. So that part of this program, as we've developed the structure over the years, is just essential to the professional development of young people. And it's really good. So whether they want to be doctors, lawyers, accountants, hair salon people, whatever they want to do, they will have these good skills to take them into it so that they're good business people.
And, they get paid at the end of the summer, and they have to have kept timesheets. They have to have a sign off on it, so they learn all kinds of skills other than just in the legal profession that just will, carry with them for the rest of their lives.
So what else can the stakeholders do to move this issue forward? What can bar associations do? What can law firms do? What can the courts do? And I have to say, I've been a part of now Memphis Bar Association, Ben F. Jones, TBA. And I know, especially here in Shelby County, I think our bar associations do a great job at this point of being collaborative and working together. And I'll say that even coming up with Diversity Law Week, the TBA has been nothing but supportive. I think if anything, people just don't know what to do or how to do it. You have people that may have an idea, but they don't know how to implement the idea. So what are just some next steps that come to mind as to what everybody can be doing to keep moving, to keep making progress on the issue of diversity and trying to increase diversity in our legal profession?
One thing, it doesn't have to be programmatic or anything. It has to just be individual effort, just individual effort that, and, when I keep referencing International Paper Company, but it came here from the North to Memphis, right? And a lot of folks would come up to me and say, I don't know how you live here. And I'm in conversations where people talk about women so badly. They talk about Blacks so badly. How can you even live here? And, my question back to them was, did you say something to them? Did you say something to them that that's not correct? Well, let me show you about this. One thing is this individual effort, right? To say if someone happens to say something that is negative, just because of the way a person looks or the way the person's gender or what have you, say something if you don't agree with it. Challenge them. It's not just the head of the corporate legal department or the head of the law firm or the head of the court system or whatever, or organizations that make a difference, but individuals make a difference in changing attitudes. And so that people are more receptive when these programs do come along. So, it just, one by one, we can make some difference. I had a lawyer to disrespect me in the courtroom. It happens a lot more than you would think for women in the courtroom and for minorities in the courtroom. And I had the other lawyer to say, Your Honor, could we approach the other lawyer? And he just said, I heard something from my colleague over here. He called the opponent a colleague. He said, I didn't like the way it sounded. He says, I think we need to address that, Your Honor, before we proceed. I appreciated that. It wasn't just overlooked that someone disrespected me, probably because of my color and my gender. I think that probably was the only reason that person felt the freedom to do that. I don't think it would have happened in another courtroom. But individuals make a difference. It doesn't take a huge organization. One by one, we can make a difference.
And I don't want anyone to underestimate, though, the value, the power, and the worth of bar associations, networking and bar associations. Mm-hmm. If I, though, as that individual had an idea, it could just absolutely take off and skyrocket and just touch so many people when it's taken into that bar association and the committee gets it and they do things. SLIP, for instance. Mm-hmm. Somebody had an idea and it took off because of the work of a bar association. So when these lawyers get together, and that is one of the things that you have to applaud about lawyers. Lawyers go to law school, they learn a skill and a trade. What they do touches the lives of everybody and every profession. And those skills that we learn transcend lawyering. They go anywhere and everywhere, and they touch upon all things. So what we can do as lawyers is, as I keep missing it, what's Hamilton's name that says lawyers are either a parasite on society, or they are, what is it? I know
The social engineers.
social engineers. That's exactly right. And that's what lawyers are. And that's what lawyers can be. And that's what lawyers do. And we take an oath to say we're going to do the right things, the good things with those skills that we've learned. We have a power, just like they have in the science fiction movies, right? We have a power, a different kind of power as lawyers. So that's the reason why we have to be so mindful of that power. That's the reason why we have to make sure that we do good with it, because we can be such a force in the lives of people and on people. We can do for good, or we can make it a difficult place for anybody to be. Bar associations, working with people, those things really, really matter.
Well, I know we're coming to the end of our time. So as I said, we have so many high school students, just different backgrounds. I know that I kind of ran the numbers last week. It was about 30% African American, 30% Hispanic, I think about 12% Caucasian, and then just kind of a little bit of like a lot of other ethnicities as well, and all across the state of Tennessee. But as these young people go into the law firms and in the courts this week, and as these attorneys host them, what is it that you want them to know about an opportunity like this and what they should take from this?
I would like for them to sit, listen, think about what it is you're listening to, you're seeing, take good notes, come up with good questions, see how it reflects in your life, and whether or not this is something you would truly like to do, or you want to go further to see if it's something you can do. I want you to understand the significance and importance of what lawyers do, what judges do, because we are affecting the lives of people, all right? These aren't the stories you read in the books in law school, right? You're past that now. This is not history. This is today. This is important. Somebody is going to go home a winner. Somebody's going to go home a loser. Somebody's going to feel good. Somebody's going to feel bad. Or we're going to even make those that did not prevail feel as if they had their day in court. And that's what the law is about. Did I get my day in court? So I want them to look at the legal system from that big perspective of how it's affecting the world as a whole and how it's going to affect me if I decide I want to be a part of it. And if I decide I'm not going to be a part of this, I still know it's out there and it's affecting me.
I would suggest that they just be present. Don't just accept this as just something, that they got a few weeks or a week or so to experience. Actually to be present and to take advantage of everything. Just try to absorb it all, because it is a tremendous advantage. It is a tremendous advantage. And to let them know that if they decide to take this on as a career, that it's not going to be easy. They've got to understand they have to be present the entire time. It is not an easy career to get into. It's not an easy career to stay in. It really isn't. So you have to be committed to it. But understand that with that sacrifice comes the ability to have such influence over so many people, over so many things. And so it is really, really important to be aware, to be present, to understand how fortunate they are to have this opportunity, and that if they decide to take this on as a career, that they have power, and that they
superpower.
And we don't want them to be, the one thing, you can get through all of the law school, all of bar exam, and all of that, and still not become a lawyer because of integrity issues. So they need to be present also in terms of knowing to do the right thing. And so, that I guess that would be, the advice that I would give young people who are interested in the legal profession.
Well, I want to thank you both for speaking with me today. I knew that you were two amazing individuals to talk about this topic, just knowing your history and working with you personally as well as professionally with different bar associations and appearing before in both of your courtrooms. I'm excited about this week, excited to hear all the great stories that the students are going to have, and just thank you both for talking with us today. Thanks,
Quentin,
everybody.
before you go, can I just get one commercial break in? All right. We
Yes.
talked about the summer law intern program, but that program would not be anywhere were it not for the lawyers, the law firms that participate, who give their time and their effort, and they're willing to step outside that box and take these young people into their practice. They're busy, but they're losing money a lot of times when they have to spend time mentoring these young people. But they are willing to let them go to the interviews, let them go to the depositions, bring them to court with them, talk to them about why they did a particular thing, give them even research projects, and then for them to be willing to pay the money out. You come to work for me. Oh, no, I'm working for you, teaching you and training you and developing you, and then I'm going to pay you. And in addition to it, that's the heart of this program, and that's what makes this program work. And as a consequence of it, the American Bar Association recognized it, and we received an award from the ABA for this program and all that it does in our community. So I don't want that to ever be overlooked either.
And thank you.
Judge.
Thank you for, I think you like spearheaded this program. And so that's thank you so much for understanding the need for it and being able to put your time and energy in it. And thanks for inviting us to participate this morning.
Yeah, and it does speak volumes. I know we won't stop talking, will we? It speaks volumes, though, that the TBA, not just the Memphis Bar Association, the National Bar Association, your local bars, but the TBA, our state bar, says we recognize, we've looked, and we know we've got to do things better because we have the power, the influence to do it. And they are allowing these kinds of programs and doing them as well. And I know you all have your institutes, your young people go through it, the young lawyers do, and that's helping to develop and train. And you will have lawyers from one side of a state that's never been involved or exposed, just like a lot of our young people have not been exposed. They've not been exposed to differences that they get an opportunity to get exposed to when you have these kinds of programs, and they're forced to come into the room with it as well. So thank you all for what you all are doing. Thank you to the TBA for the opportunity, for what they're allowing you to do, for what they are doing, and for being sincere in their involvement to make this difference. Thank you all.
Well, I think there's nothing else to say after that. Thank you both. And if you want to know some more information about Diversity Law Week, you can just do a quick Google search, Tennessee Bar Association, Diversity Law Week, and you can do the same to learn more about the Memphis Bar Association Summer Law Internship Program and many of the other programs that we mentioned during this conversation. But thank you both.
Thank you.
Take care.